Let's put up with David Sirota of The Lever. He put up a tweet letting us know 50 Senate Republicans and 17 Democrats ignored warnings and voted to deregulate Silicon Valley Bank. It was a bipartisan effort. If you are a partisan zombie who can't accept your party's complicity, sorry, cope with it. Now let's rest right there. We're gonna rest right there. You understand what David is saying? And we're gonna bring Bridget in on this. Basically, if you don't understand what just went down, in a bipartisan way, the Congress decided to lessen the regulations because they were lobbied. They were lobbied by this bank to do so. Everything has exploded. So this ain't just the Republicans, the Democrats are complicit too. And that complicity always comes at the risk and at the hurt of the everyday people of this nation. Bridget, your thoughts on this, what's going on, what's brewing? It's still brewing right now.
It's still brewing. I completely agree with and appreciate your breakdown of the situation, Senator. I think it's important to point out that I can understand why people who are watching this story, everyday working folks like you and me, are thinking, isn't it interesting how when it comes to things like student loan debt, things that are gonna lift up, working people in this country, no, can't have it. That would be socialism. There's not enough money. I think it's understandable why people are watching this unfold and saying, gee, isn't it interesting how there's always money to help some folks out when they get into these situations, but not others. And so I completely see how that feels like a complete double standard. And I think it really illustrates some of the frustrations that folks have when they see things like this unfold.
Yeah, it really does, Bridget, and rightfully so, like that righteous indignation. Now we do understand, like there will be a consequence, like a ripple effect. We get it, but they knew that going in. The feds knew that going in too. So why would you soften the rules if banks are so important, and they are? So I'm just being rhetorical. If they're so important to the economy, then why lighten up on them when you know you should be stricter on them because they play such a pivotal role? It's not the opposite. It's not loosen up on them, but these elected officials, they owned. So that's why things like this happen. Let's see what my stunt double had to say about this, because she's always saying something on the internet, Bridget. What's happening with the railroads is what's happening with the banks. The result of rolling back regulations. Y'all better bold that, underline it, message in a bottle, on a train without chemicals, and not on Southwest Airlines. Okay, this is real. This right here is real, sisters and brothers, family, friends. Now we got in this situation we are in as a nation due to massive deregulation. So we about to break this all the way down for you. So we let you know what happened in California, what happened in New York, what's happening like right this minute, and the feds have decided they're gonna bail them out. Dr. Robert Reich asked the question because they claiming they're not doing it with taxpayers' money. So whose money you doing it with? Y'all just printing money to save these folks. But you won't print money to save Big Mama and Big Papa in the hoods where they misunderstood. But y'all gonna print some money to save these people here, right here. And this is gonna happen again. It happened in 2008. Here we are in 2023. It's happening again. Why? Because there are no consequences and repercussions. We need to let mamas run this thing. Because here, my mama was running this thing, there'd be consequences and repercussions. Because I was raised by that kind of mama. Wherever you act up is where she gonna get you. Consequences and repercussions, but y'all keep doing the same old thing over and over again. I think Dr. Einstein defined insanity as doing the same thing over and over again and expecting a different result, but they leaped right to it. So Dr. Robert Reich, he walked us down memory lane on this. Let's put this up, team. Once banking was deregulated, such a crash was inevitable. In the 1950s and 60s, when banking was boring, I want to go back to boring. The financial sector accounted for just 10 to 15% of the US corporate profits, but deregulation made finance exciting and exceedingly profitable. Put Bridget up next to me. See, class, this is the lesson. Sometimes boring is good. Sometimes boring save lives, okay? Now, the deregulation caused all of this, and this is where we are right now. So the rules changed. I mean, that's the main portion of what we're having this conversation, is that the federal government has the control, the ability to set the rules. They changed the rules and softened them up, and look where we are. What happened in 2008 is happening again in 2023.
Exactly, and I think these banks have already been shown before that they're not able to be responsible. And so I think, how many times do we have to go through this story? How many times do we have to continue to roll back regulations and say, oops, I can't believe this has happened again? How many more times is the American public going to have to sit through these frustrations of watching these bankers be bailed out. I think something has got to give, and I'm like you. I want to see Black moms put in charge of this because they would not allow for this to continue with no consequences. I'll tell you that right now.
That's it. It'd be consequences and repercussions if Black mamas was in control. First of all, this wouldn't have happened again. Now, no. Bridget, I don't know. I'm a Gen Xer, but my mama didn't play. Okay, I remember like wherever you acted out, that's where she was gonna get you. When I was growing up, Woolworths was a big thing here in Cleveland, and it wasn't me because I was a good child. All right, I was a good child. But one of my siblings was acting up, and my mama told the clerk in there. She went to the children's department to get a belt, and she said, "I just want to borrow this. I ain't buying it. I just want to borrow it. I'm gonna bring it right on back." See, that's how mamas roll. Oh, you about to get it right here, right now. And that would have been the consequence and the repercussions for these banks. My mom would tell, hey, we gonna borrow this belt here. They about to get it, but I'm gonna bring it right back because they ain't gonna act up like this again. So yeah, just go ahead, y'all. Put Black mamas in charge of the banking regulatory system and see what happens. This wouldn't happen again. Bridget and I can guarantee.
Guarantee. I don't think any of these bankers have any kind of fear of regulation. I think that they feel like they don't need to be accountable to anybody. And that just shows you how broken this system is, that they don't fear any kind of repercussions.
But Bridget, and that's such a good point, Bridget, because they don't fear it because all they got to do is hire lobbyists and go lobby and buy the Congress off. So I wouldn't be in fear. What's the price of doing business? It is worth the $500,000 or however much they would spend to bribe politicians. I want our viewers to know this is another example of it. They control the system. They who have the money control the system. They get to write the rules. They say we don't want it. Eventually they don't. They get what they want. They didn't want it. They got it. So yeah, Black mamas can't be bought off like that. Okay. I ain't talking about regular politics. I'm talking about get you some down home Black mamas up in that piece. They get it straightened out real quick. And then lastly, from Dr. Robert Reich, by the mid 1980s, the financial sector claimed 30% of corporate profits, and by 2001. By which time Wall Street had become a gigantic betting parlor in which the house took a big share of the bets. It claimed a whopping 40%. That was more than 4 times the profits made in all US manufacturing. Dr. Reich is laying this out here. As an economist, he understands this in a deep way and he knows how to break it down so everyday people can understand. Laissez-faire, let me just put a finer point on what Dr. Robert Reich has laid out for us. Laissez-faire government is not working. That laissez-faire is to let alone. And that's the kind of government we have right now when it comes to these big corporations that's causing all kinds of anxiety for all of us in all hoods, be they rural, urban, or suburban. If you are an everyday person, if you don't have a sugar daddy or sugar mama or sugar somebody, you are suffering under the weight of a system that allows those who have the most money to have the most voice and to do whatever they wanted to do. America, we need some Black mamas on this job. Yeah, we do, right away.